Imagine settling down for a weekend of gaming, only to find that the PlayStation Network, PSN, has left you stranded. For more than 24 hours, millions of PlayStation users across the globe found themselves locked out of their consoles. What initially seemed like a minor technical hiccup quickly spiraled into one of the worst network failures in PlayStation history, second only to the infamous weeks-long outage in 2011. With Sony's online services unavailable to millions, possibly even billions of gamers, frustration reached an all-time high. And while the network was eventually restored last Saturday around 9 p.m., two critical questions remain unanswered. What was the real cause of this outage? And what compensation is Sony offering to make things right? Before we dive into the details, if you're passionate about gaming news and want to stay updated on the latest developments, don't forget to subscribe to What's Up Nerd Insider and click that notification bell. We've got you covered with the most comprehensive breakdowns on gaming, anime, movies, and all things nerdy. After leaving millions of players in the dark for over a day, Sony finally addressed the situation, but their response only added fuel to the fire. The official Ask PlayStation Twitter account issued a brief statement on February 9th, stating, "PSN network services have fully recovered from an operational issue. We apologize for the inconvenience and appreciate the community's patience. All PlayStation Plus members will automatically receive 5 additional days of service." That's it. No detailed explanation, no transparency, and worst of all, no meaningful compensation for the inconvenience caused. Sony's refusal to disclose what truly happened has left gamers suspicious. Was this a cyber attack, a system failure, or something even more concerning? By simply calling it an operational issue, Sony has done little to reassure its player base that a similar outage won't happen again in the future. But what really stings is the so-called compensation. 5 extra days of PlayStation Plus may sound like a decent offer at first glance, but let's break it down. First, this compensation only applies to PlayStation Plus subscribers. If you don't have an active subscription, you get absolutely nothing, even if you were just as affected by the outage. Second, 5 days is a laughable gesture compared to the scale of the disruption. Many gamers had their entire weekend ruined, whether they were planning game nights, taking time off work to play, or just looking forward to some relaxing solo gaming. And let's not forget, this outage didn't just affect online gaming. Even single-player digital and some physical games were completely inaccessible. This highlights a growing concern in the gaming industry: the over-reliance on online validation. Many gamers who owned physical copies of their games were shocked to find they couldn't even play those titles. Consoles failed to verify licenses, leaving users unable to access their legally purchased content. This raises an important question. If players can't even enjoy their physical games without an internet connection, what's the point of buying physical copies at all? Sony's decision to offer a mere 5-day extension to PlayStation Plus subscribers while ignoring non-subscribers is a glaring example of corporate greed. There were countless ways they could have handled this situation more effectively. A free game, store credit, or even temporarily unlocking online multiplayer for all players would have been a much stronger goodwill gesture. Instead, Sony chose the laziest and cheapest option possible. Looking at past industry responses, other companies have set a better precedent. When major gaming services experience outages, developers have been known to compensate players with in-game currency, extended free trials, or exclusive in-game items. Sony, however, decided that the bare minimum was enough, further proving that they are one of the most anti-consumer companies in the gaming industry today. And let's be real, Sony is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They had the resources to offer something far more substantial. 5 extra days of PlayStation Plus is a joke, especially considering how much they charge for their subscription tiers. PlayStation Plus Essential costs $278 annually, Extra is $475, and Deluxe goes up to $538. And yet, after a major failure in service, the best they could do was 5 days? This is a company that expects gamers to pay a premium, yet delivers subpar service with no accountability. Beyond the compensation controversy, there's still the elephant in the room. What actually happened? Sony's vague response leaves too many unanswered questions. Some believe this was a technical failure, while others suspect a cyber attack or even internal sabotage. In a previous video, we covered the recent layoffs at PlayStation Studios in California, where key engineers responsible for PSN's backend were let go. Could this outage be connected to those layoffs? Some speculate that a disgruntled former employee may have deliberately sabotaged the system, leading to this catastrophic failure. If that's the case, then Sony has more than just a PR problem. They could be covering up a massive internal security breach. Regardless of the cause, one thing is certain: Sony's lack of transparency is damaging their reputation. Gamers deserve to know what went wrong, what's being done to prevent it from happening again, and why their paid services were inaccessible for more than a full day. This incident raises a larger concern: the fragility of digital gaming ecosystems. As more games rely on online verification, even for single-player experiences, gamers are losing control over the products they purchase. The PSN outage was a stark reminder that despite owning a game, players are still at the mercy of corporate-controlled infrastructure. Could this be a turning point? Gamers are growing increasingly frustrated with companies treating digital ownership as a mere licensing agreement. Perhaps this event will push more players to demand consumer rights and push back against anti-consumer practices. If enough people voice their concerns, Sony might be forced to change its approach, or at least be more transparent when things go wrong. This entire situation has been a disaster for Sony. A major network outage, a lack of clear communication, and an insultingly weak compensation package have left many PlayStation users furious. If Sony wants to maintain consumer trust, they need to do better. Plain and simple. This isn't just about 5 days of PlayStation Plus. It's about respect for the gaming community. Sony needs to take a hard look at how they handle network stability, communication during crises, and how they compensate players when they fail to deliver a service that people are paying for. They need to start valuing their loyal customers instead of taking them for granted, because if they continue down this path, even their most dedicated fans might start looking elsewhere for a more reliable and transparent gaming experience. With Sony's increasing push toward digital-only gaming, could we see more issues like this in the future? The PlayStation 5 Digital Edition removes physical game ownership entirely, making gamers fully dependent on PSN. If outages like this happen again, will digital players be completely locked out? Could this be a warning sign for the future of gaming as a whole? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think? Is 5 extra days of PlayStation Plus an acceptable compensation, or is this just another example of Sony being out of touch with their audience? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the discussion going. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe to What's Up Nerd Insider for more deep dives into gaming's biggest stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, happy gaming.